Hey, what's up, guys? It's the Film Geek here. Last week, I didn't really watch any DVDs, like, at all, which is why there was no stack last week. But this week there's a stack. And here it goes. First time I watched Superman, Batman, Apocolypse. This movie was really, really cool. The animation was sweet. Although I didn't really like it as much as Superman, Batman, Public Enemies. I wish Superman, Batman, Apocalypse would have fit a little bit closer to the source material it was based on. However, by going off of the source material, like a little away from it, it was able to get in some much cooler looking fight scenes than just the ones that were in the comic. And that is always a plus. I mean, you know, seeing Supergirl beat the crap out of Darkseid was really cool. I give Superman, Batman, Apocalypse a 3.5 out of 5. Next up, I saw Ip Man. It is a Japanese, it's a Chinese, I should say, kung fu movie. Came out in 2008. It tells the real-life story of Ip Man, who was one of the mentors of the great Bruce Lee. This movie had some of the sweetest, this movie had the sweetest fight scenes I have ever seen in my life, in any movie ever. It was just off the freaking hook. The fighting is absolutely brilliant, and it's a damn good movie, too. The story is definitely one that could be Oscar-worthy if people would have looked past the fact that, oh, it's just a kung fu film. It's definitely a very epic movie and very well made. The cinematography is just beautiful in this movie. So all in all, I give Ip Man a 4.5 out of 5. The only reason it doesn't get a perfect 5 out of 5 is that there are a few scenes that have Japanese conversations, and it seems like these conversations are probably pretty important, but we never get any kind of English translation, either in subtitles or dubbing. And that kind of made me feel like I was in the dark a little bit. But 4.5 out of 5 for Ip Man. Then I saw the 1942 Best Picture winner, Mrs. Miniver. This movie bored the shit out of me. And frankly, I just didn't really like it that much. It was good for what it was, I guess. It didn't feel like a complete movie. It had good parts, had bad parts. It was kind of average for me, so I give it a 2.5 out of 5. Very middle of the road. What's not very middle of the road is 1977 Best Picture winner Annie Hall, written and directed by Woody Allen. It is no secret that I am not a Woody Allen fan at all. In fact, Woody Allen is probably the only director that I dislike more than Quentin Tarantino, and this movie was no exception. I thought it was extremely dull and boring and poorly acted and just not a good story or good storytelling. I will give it credit where credit is due. It was very interestingly made. There was a lot of cool parts where they would like break the fourth wall and talk to the audience, or they would speak to their own flashbacks, or there were flashbacks talking to flashbacks, and there was animation and there were subtitles, and it was just a lot of really interesting different types of movie making all brought into one. So I will give it credit there that it was unique, but everything else I thought sucked. I give it a 1 out of 5. Then I saw Zack Galifinackus live. It was a live performance of Zack Galifinackus, hence the title. But I didn't think he was funny. I love him in the movies, but his stand-up is kind of not funny to me. I give it a 2 out of 5. And finally, I saw 1942's Best Picture winner, Casablanca. That's weird. Maybe it's 1943. Hang on, because that's the same year that Mrs. Miniver was. So I've got the date wrong on one of those. Let's find out which. Shall we? Mrs. Miniver was 42. Okay, 1943 for Casablanca. Casablanca's 1943 Best Picture winner. This movie was absolutely stunning. The story is very, very, very simple, but even with a simple story, they managed to put in some just absolute story, like life-shattering twists in this movie, and that made it really great. The acting was superb. Everything about the story was just great. Everything about this movie was awesome. I give it a 4.5 out of 5, only because it felt like there were a couple things that weren't as explained as they could have been, and a couple characters kind of disappeared before they should have, in my opinion. So I give it 4.5 out of 5 for Casablanca. So that's this week's stack, and we'll see what happens next week.